Oceanside car show. And this is that car I mentioned before that when I was in the Army, they had that. Now that car, well, let me start right here.
Okay.
When I came out of the Army, the first place I went was to the drag strip. And I got to the drag strip and went up and seen Don Menard and, hi, how you doing, and everything. And I actually went over to Don's the night before Sunday, and I had a long visit with him and his family. And so when I got up to the drag strip, he introduced me to a gentleman by the name of George Adrians. And George had this car there. And he asked me if I wanted to drive it. And he had a young fellow driving it. And I said, well, you already have somebody driving it. He said, no, he works for me, and if you want to drive it, you're welcome to drive it. And I said, all right, I'll drive it. So I got in the car, and if you could notice, they had 4 V-belts driving the blower. And I made a pass in it, and I went I think I went 137 miles an hour with it. And and you shifted it. You had a 2-speed in it. And so George was very impressed because I went a little bit faster than I ever went. So he said, well, take another run in it. So this time I really tried hard. I wound it up really hard, and I shifted it, missed a shift. And every belt came off of it. And it looked like somebody had thrown a bucket of spaghetti up in the air. And George laughed about that for years and years. And so anyway, when we get into the other cars about George, I'll tell you more about George.
Excellent.
Actually, this is George's second car.
I think that's the car. David Crower drove that car.
That's right. David's in that car right there. And this is my car. Now, this car is originally this car.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You still see the square roll bar.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But it's been changed a lot.
It looks shorter without the body on it.
Yeah. And anyway, I was running a match race with George. I had an unblown fuel car, and he had a blown gas car. And so we were going to have a match race. And I liked it because I thought I could beat him. Well, George knew I could probably beat him, so George put his car on fuel.
Oh.
Unbeknownst to me. So I get to the drag strip, and I think something fishy is going on.
Dick.
So I got the manager up there, and I said, I think George is running fuel. And he says, no, no, he's running gasoline. I said, no, he isn't. I said, well, just to make sure, just to satisfy my own curiosity, I said, I happen to bring a can of gas. I said, I want George to drain his tank and put my gas in it. And George wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I bet.
George wouldn't do it. So we had a big argument. I said, I ain't going to race you. You want to cheat? I ain't going to race you. So finally George put gas in it, put the jets back and everything the way it was, because he had it set up for alcohol. And he finally put the gas back in and I ended up beating him.
Awesome.
And boy, it was a grudge after that. It was a grudge. So this is the same car. Now here it had injectors on it, which this is the later picture.
Right.
This is when it had the Crowler UFAB on it, and then you can see here it had injectors on it.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to scan these.
I ran 169 miles an hour with that car.
Going nice and slow over these. And I have movies of that running, and I think it was 63 or 64 at
probably 62.
62. Whoa. Mm-hmm. Unless you sold it to somebody and somebody else was running it.
No.
Okay.
This
the old parachute.
This is an old parachute deal. We used to use they were actually cargo chutes is what they were.
Yep.
And this is one little exhibition thing that I got off onto for a while. I put that Plymouth motor in a modified and ran down at Balboa Stadium.
Really?
And I ended up putting it in the wall real hard. Took two cranes to lift it up, slide the trailer underneath it. Now here we're back to George. George and I built this car. This is George Adrians, and George decided after he had a driver and somebody to help him, he wanted to build a new car. So we bought a Scotty Finn car, and we built this motor, out of a lot of the parts he had, and we finally got it finished.
Okay, hold on. I need to
Two-port
come over to this
Hillborn
one on the
on it?
left, the right, I mean, excuse me.
It had that
Oh, really?
injector was an Algon.
Oh, it's an Algon. Look how big it is.
It's an Algon injector that never worked. I built a scoop for it. There's a story behind that.
Okay,
Algon
good, go on
injector,
ahead.
I tell you. So this is just more pictures of the car. And it was a really nice car. In those days, it was probably one of the nicest cars around. There
And
was
you-
other cars as nice, but
and-
it was a nice car.
And you were running it on fuel, right?
No,
Oh,
gasoline.
gasoline, okay.
And we set the world's record with this car.
Really?
173.07.
And what year was that? Remember?
1961.
61? Okay. Very good.
Just more pictures of the same car.
Mm-hmm.
And all these are Bob Hardy.
Yes.
Bob Hardy
Yep.
sold these. You know, he'd take these and then he'd sell them to the magazine people.
Yeah.
And this is some. As you can see, we changed the front end on it later. We also changed the rear end on it because this is a picture at Colton.
Right.
And I'm running at Colton one night when we first got the car, and it's at night, and Colton had no lights except a big searchlight that shone down the drag strip. So either side of the drag strip was totally black. And I'm making a pass, and all of a sudden I make a right-hand turn as hard as you could make a right-hand turn, and I go right between two telephone poles that were laying down on the
Oh,
ground.
geez.
I go through the parking area, across the return road, and into a field, and I'm black. I can't see nothing, and I know I went over the return road, so I'm trying to get back on the return road. I finally got on what I thought was a return road, and I finally got the car stopped. But there were just huge clouds of dust and no lights. And I hear the ambulance and the fire truck coming, and I think they're going to run into me. 'Cause I know I'm on the return road, and I think that's where they're coming. So I jump out of the car, and I run off to the side, and just before they get to me, they turn onto the racetrack, and they go down the racetrack. They can't find me. You know? So they finally turn around. When they turn around, they come back, they found me. I was so mad at George. George, what did you do to the car? Well, we couldn't figure out what happened, but when we got back, Scotty Finn used to have 2 rubber biscuits sitting on top of the rear end that were pads, and then on the bottom of the rear end there was 2 little strut bars that kept the rear end from turning. Well, one of those strut bars folded up, and the rear end went sideways, like this.
Mm-hmm.
The car followed.
Went
And
right
the car
on.
went off the racetrack. That was the one problem I had with George. The next one was at Bakersfield, he didn't balance the tires. And I went through the lights with the back of the car jumping about this high in the air. And every time it would land, it would drive me down into the car. And I was down in the car so far I couldn't see out of the car. I pulled on the brake like this. I couldn't see where I was going. I finally come back, finally got things stopped. I'm madder than hell at George. And what's going on? You didn't balance the tire. Why? I thought they were good enough. And I go, so we took them to Ernie Hashem's that night, and one of them was 22 ounces out, and the other one was 27 or something. It was some ridiculous thing. So we even had to dismount the tires and move them around. This is a picture at Colton, and one of the headers fell off. This picture's been rotating around through the web a little bit, and everybody says, "Well, how come there's only 3 headers?" Well, it had fallen off, and I ran over it down that way. And this is just some of the articles with George's car.
Right.
And we had 163, we were at 163, 63 there.
Excellent.
Now this is that, you know, we've been back and forth on this car, but this car here,
Right.
this is this car, the same car. And
Okay.
Clark Geffey and I, this is just when I first got married. This is me and Sherry, Clark Geffey's wife, and